Welcome to Your American Dream. I'm Anisha Jennings, and today we're exploring how life's unexpected turns can lead to our true calling with Giselle Penley, whose journey from Cuban immigrant to digital treasure marketing agency shows that sometimes our best path isn't the one we initially planned. Welcome, Giselle. Thank you so much for being here and being on my show.
Thank you so much, Anisha. I am so excited that we cross paths and we are doing this today. And I can't wait to share with you and with all your listeners my path from Cuba to where I am today.
Yes, yes, thank you. That's very sweet and very special. So, you came to the US when you were 21 years old, and you initially wanted to be a lawyer, and now you're the founder of a digital marketing agency. So, tell us about your journey from Cuba, how you came to the US, and how you met your husband.
So, wow, that seems like a long time ago now. So, I arrived in the US in 2006. I was studying law in my home country. I am originally from Havana, Cuba. And since I was a 9 years old little girl, I said, I am going to be a lawyer. I'm going to pursue this. And I worked my entire life, all uh, my early elementary school years, middle school, high school to go to law school. And it was back then, I don't know how it is right now, but it was a very competitive field to get in as well. So I always have the top GPA, like I had to pass all my exams. And I really thought that that's what I was going to be as an adult. But then something very unexpected happened in early 2005 when I met my today husband. So it was the beginning of online dating. I don't even know if that website is still live. The website name was mythic.com. And I one day I received a very strange message, I guess, from my husband, and he said that he had seen my profile online and he wanted to start chatting, and he asked if it was possible. So I said yes, but honestly, Anisha, I never in my life thought that I was gonna move to this country. So I was in the second year of law school when we started, having like a chat online, and it was very, very difficult because back then, it's still very hard today in Cuba, but back then it was even harder. There was no Wi-Fi. We had a modern computer that you have to plug in. I don't know if you remember those. So we, like connecting, it was a very challenging thing to answer back to his messages. And we were doing that about 3 months when he suddenly dropped an email saying that he was going to fly there to meet me in person. So that's how kind of it all started. He went to Havana for, after that, several times. We started to know each other and started kind of having a long distance relationship. One funny thing is that this past Monday, I was like going through my closet and I found my notebook from back then. I have like
Oh.
here stuff written from 2005, and I have all my diary of how we were exchanging emails, how difficult it was to talk to him. And then we did that for a few months, I don't know, 9, 10 months, I can't remember. And he tried to invite me to spend the summer in France because he's originally from France. And we have to like leave Cuba with a visa. Like it's not like you can just take a flight, right? So it's a very difficult process. So we have to make an appointment in the French embassy. I went to the appointment, and obviously, as a 21-year-old girl, I went to the embassy. They asked me what was the purpose for me to travel to France, and I said, well, I'm visiting my boyfriend, and they denied my visa. Oh, yes, I have that letter. We did an appeal.
Wow.
Yes, I have that letter. I found it the other day. It was sad. I was devastated because you find yourself in this small island that, you cannot leave. And the person that you are falling in love with is in the other side of the Atlantic, right? So that was a very hard moment for me. And then he called me that day on a phone call. And I told him, like, I was denied. And then he said, well, we're going to have to find another way because I really want to be with you. I felt I was living a dream. I really never thought that was really happening. It was almost like, when you are in a dream and you're like, is this real? Is this not real? At the same time, I was still taking all my classes in law school. I was passing all my tests because obviously that's what I really thought I was going to do. And then a few days later, he called me again that he had talked to a lawyer here in the US. He was living in New York City back then. And he had talked to a lawyer, and the lawyer had said that probably the best way for me to come was doing a visa fiance. And he called me, he said that to me. I had no idea what that meant. So he explained the whole process, and he said that, he was going to start the application for me to come with the visa fiance to the US. But most probably I have to drop my college studies. The most difficult decision that I have made as a young adult back then in 2006, because that was my dream. I still get emotional talking about it. He started applying for me to come to the visa fiance. I was already in my third year. Over there, you have to do 5 years of law. The first 4 years are, the whole years of college. And then the last year, the fifth year, is when you do your thesis and you graduate. So I had already completed not almost, like all 3 years of 5 years of law school.
Wow.
And that summer, before registering for the fourth year, I have to make the decision because our interview was in September, and that's when school starts. And if I had registered for the fourth year, the law back then in my country was that you couldn't drop college and you couldn't leave the country. You really needed to graduate. If you had started the fourth years of law school, you have to complete it, the 5 years, graduate, and then do 3 years of social service. And my husband, who was my fiance back then, told me, I'm not waiting all these years for you. So you need to decide that now. I remember, like, I was in the kitchen with my mom and my sister and my dad and my grandma. And I was like, what about if they don't approve my visa like they did in France, in the French embassy? I will never be a lawyer again. I will never be with him. So I'm going to lose everything, right? So I have to take that leap of faith. And obviously, sometimes they say love is blind. So
Sure now.
I follow my heart, and I decided to not register for my fourth year and wait for the date of the interview for us. And then happily, the day of the interview came, and they approved my visa, and they gave me a visa to come to the US.
Yay, that's amazing. That is such a courageous story to, you had the dream of being a lawyer from the time you were a child, 9 years old, to now taking this bold decision. Kudos to you for that leap of faith. And now you're in the digital marketing world. So what was your impression when you came to the US? You were 21, around that early 20s. What was your impression of US when you came here?
Oh my God. Actually, I'm very happy that I found this diary that I mentioned to you, because I have to be honest with you. I had seen New York only in movies, right? The very few movies that we probably were able to see when, I was back in my country. And you have this expectation of coming to America and everything is beautiful and possible and you're going to live the American dream. And it's sometimes not like picture in movies. So to leave Cuba, there were no direct flights to New York City. My husband, went to Cuba and before me again, before I left, and then he met me in Miami because I had to fly with a charter to Miami, and that was the first time I have taken a plane in my life. And I left in November. it was probably like 90 degrees in Cuba. And I landed in Miami. I was happy, it was still warm. I was wearing leather sandals. And when I landed in Miami and he saw me, he's like, you know that you are not going to be able to wear that when you arrive in New York, right? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, it's cold. I had never felt a cold less than 70s, maybe. I landed in New York and it was like in the 50s. And for me, that was the worst weather I have ever felt in my life. So that was one thing to start when I landed in New York. It was very shocking of how cold the winter gets. You know, because you are Norse, right?
Yes, yes. I completely understand because I had the same experience because when I was packing to come here, I came here in August, so it was still nice. And then I brought the warm clothes that I thought would, help me for the winter. Then come October, I was just like, and apparently the year that I landed here was the winter was mild. And I'm like, if this is mild, I don't know how I'm gonna survive here. So yes, I totally relate to that.
That's what everybody used to tell me. It's like, oh, it's still not even cold. This is very mild for how cold it's going to get. I'm like, I think I want to go back to Cuba. I don't want to live here with this weather. But I lived there for over 12 years. So when I arrived in New York, it was very shocking. Obviously, I did not speak any English, Anisha. My English was very basic, basic things like my name is Giselle. So I was when I met my husband, he spoke Spanish, and he told me let's start taking some classes. When I was in Cuba, I was like taking like grammar and everything, but it's not the same as when you have to speak a complete new language with people that are now speaking only English to you the entire day. So my brain was, what is going on? Like I remember like being in Paris or like just on the street in the subway in New York, and I'm like, how do I talk to people? So I was lucky to meet some friends also that spoke Spanish and gave me really good advice, like try to read in English everything you can. Try to like immerse in programs where everybody only speaks English. And I did that for like the first 3 months. And it's amazing how, I guess, fast, obviously, if you're immersed in a new country, your brain also adjusts because now you need to survive.
Survival mode, yes,
You
absolutely.
need to communicate and survive. So, but it was shocking, like the weather, the language, how dark it gets so early. Like at 4 p.m., it was already dark. So those little things, as a 21-year-old, were all shocking. It's not only like how beautiful this city is, like in the movies. And do you remember like the show Sex and the City?
Yeah, yes.
I would have spent hours looking at that show, and I'm like, this is nothing like the show. Oh my God, it was so funny. So I also, knew that I wanted to continue my having a career here in the US. Law was not probably an option for me back then because the way you go to college and then you have to law school here is very different, and none of my credits were, transferred here from law school. So I had to find something that I could do in my life and in my career. So I started looking for part-time jobs, and I found this ad where they were looking for a marketing assistant for a toy company that was in New York City, and they needed someone that spoke Spanish. So I said, yeah, I'm going to apply for this. I have no idea what marketing is. Back then, there was no marketing in my country. So I applied for the job and I got a date for an interview. And I went there. I was so nervous and stressed because I didn't know if they were just gonna do this was probably literally like 3 months after I had arrived in the US. I didn't know if they were going to like ask me stuff in English or like how the interview was going to be conducted. So I went. My husband is always been very supportive. And he said, you don't lose anything just by going and getting to know the person that is going to interview you. And up to this day, and I want to thank him. Hopefully he'll listen to this podcast. His name is Marco. We are still connected via LinkedIn. And he was the first person that gave me a chance and an opportunity in this country. When I went into the interview room, I told him in English, I am very stressed and my English is not very good. And he said to me, it's okay, I'm from Puerto Rico, so let's speak Spanish.
Lovely.
So he said, you can speak Spanish. So I told him, I'm looking for an opportunity to start somewhere. I'm very good, with people. And he gave me the opportunity to be his marketing assistant. That's where I learned so much about marketing and what marketing is. And I decided to pursue a career in marketing. That was in early 2007. So I was very close to Baruch College, where the office of the company is very close to that campus in near Madison Square. And I went there and I asked, like, what courses they had. And they told me that they recommended that I do kind of like, they call it continuing studies, to take different classes and to see if I really liked it or not. So I did that, and taking those classes, I realized, this is probably what I want to do, because marketing is very versatile field. You could do many things within marketing. And then I started applying for college. I got accepted in Baruch, and in 2012, I graduated from the business school of Baruch with my marketing degree.
That is so beautiful. I love how you were persistent and you kept going, and no matter what challenges you had, you figured a way out. And it is hard learning a new language, coming to a new country, and persevering through all of that. So kudos to you, and that is very, very encouraging. So when you started working in the marketing and you decided to go to pursue marketing, how did your career start from that job, and then how did it lead to you establishing your own company now?
Yes, that's been now a little bit. So in 2012, marketing was very different than marketing today, right? There was no digital marketing per se, and social media was barely starting. So I graduated, and my first job was actually in working for Macy's in their executive development program. And that was an amazing development program for leaders. I got to know a lot of great colleagues. I got to learn a lot about being a leader, being a manager, running businesses of like millions of dollars, coaching people. And I did that for a few years right after college, and I started seeing the trend of the digital transformation. I was living and breathing digital transformation as I was working for Macy's. We did so much digital transformation. My first Black Friday, which was an extremely intense but amazing experience in the stores. We saw that change of people going from store traffic to online traffic, building a more robust website for a store back then, such a giant store, right? So I lived all that transformation in digital marketing, and I saw that change happening so much. Then working for Macy's, I said, I had one of the biggest cosmetics department in the store, where I work with a lot of executives as well, and we have to train a lot of the associates to post in social media, bring brand awareness for the brands, like Estee Lauder, many like Dior, Chanel, all those amazing brands. So I started transitioning into the cosmetic world, and I started working for Estee Lauder as one of their account coordinators. So I have to do a lot of training for their associates, but I also have to like train the girls, most of them, or like, people working on their counters to be able to like promote all these products online and work with their headquarters there in Manhattan as well on training programs for more digitalization. So that was all as I was living that. I'm like, this is changing so fast. So I started becoming more immersed in digital marketing. And I love, I have always loved having to train and to coach and to have a team and to drive sales and to help growth. So that was a very interesting transformation for my career because it was just happening so fast from the moment I graduated from marketing to like now, 2015, 2007, all this marketing world was changing really, really fast. And I said, I need to do some kind of like studies where I learned more about this digital transformation that is happening. So I went back, I immersed myself in different courses. Back then, I remember there was one about all about LinkedIn because LinkedIn was starting to be a big platform. And I took these classes in Baruch again where like now I was helping a lot of other friends to build their LinkedIn profiles.
Lovely.
I was doing it just because I was learning in the school and my friends, and I kept telling my colleagues in retail, I'm like, the world is changing. Like this is gonna be more online. In 10 years from now, this is all going to be very different than it is now. So we need to adjust and we need to evolve with this trend. And anyway, all this was a great experience. And in 2020, I went to Columbia Business School. I took my whole digital marketing certification, an amazing program for professionals that Columbia Business School has as well. And that's when I decided this is what I want. I really want to do this. But, sometimes you get that imposter syndrome that should I be able to do this on my own? Should I not do this? Like also you think, you need to pay a steady paycheck. Sometimes, you need those benefits that the companies where you are working for offer you. And a lot of people don't have the opportunity to like quit everything and, start on their own. So I moved to Florida because I got really tired of the winter.
I don't blame you.
That was another turning point in my life. So I have lived all my 20s and now early 30s in this beautiful city that I met so many amazing people, great leaders, great professionals. Everybody is so motivated, right? To now a suburban town in Florida. I became a mom as well when I was in New York. So I had a child, but I wanted a better, more quiet life because I really wanted now to maybe focus more on raising my child. So that's why we decided to make that move to the Sunshine State. And when I moved here, that was probably when I realized there is so many female entrepreneurs and business owners that need marketing. And a lot of the times I feel that all because of all these transformations and marketing has become so expensive for small businesses. I want to break that stereotype of small businesses is impossible to do marketing for them. So I started through my son, like the moms and the groups of other females here. They all like always say, "Oh, I would like to do this, but I don't know how to do this." And I started again, like I was in New York doing LinkedIn profiles. I started again, oh, do you know that you can do this with your social media? And do you know that you can actually run Meta ads instead of Google ads because it's more cheaper if you do that? And you shouldn't be posting a post. You should be maybe getting leads through Meta. And like small talks like that led to people saying, oh, would you like to do this for me? And I'm like, yeah, I could try. Why not? I was just doing it as really like as a side kind of a side hustle because I was working for a fintech company here where I was doing all their digital marketing strategy is an app and I was doing all the like app marketing, acquisition marketing. So I was like just helping here and there people with their marketing needs, but I really was afraid to go all on my own. And then I started a new job in 2023, I believe. I was working for an Irish company. It was a great, wonderful experience. They are in the telecommunication businesses, and I had the opportunity to work with the Latin and Cuban and Caribbean audience to drive all their marketing. And I felt that was something that I really wanted to do because as a Cuban myself, I know how important for people in our countries is, to have access to phones and data. So that company focused on that, and I felt, okay, I'm gonna do this. I thought I was going to be there for the rest of my life, that was my passion and my calling. And unfortunately, there were some laid off in this past October, I believe, and they let me go. So that's when I took another leap of faith, and I say, you know what? I'm not going to look for a job again. I'm not going to go back to the job market. I'm going to do this all on my own. And I had already registered my company, Digital Treasure Marketing, a few years ago when I was still doing it as a side hustle, because, deep down in your heart, you always know this is what I really want to do. I don't want people telling me we should be doing this when I know the best way is to be doing it this way for customers, right? So I knew that that was my calling, and I decided not to go back to the workforce, and just really put all my energy in digital treasure marketing. And I honestly couldn't be happier. I know I'm probably very blessed that I could do this on my own. My family is very supportive. I have two wonderful kids now that I get to spend a lot of time with them because I have my own hours, and I really get to help a lot of females that need marketing needs, because I know that they want to be helped, but they don't know, and a lot of companies take advantage of the marketing prices. You could charge anything you want, right? Because it's a very expensive field, and again, like a lot of business owners think I can't afford in marketing. Yes, you can. You just need to have someone that is willing to help you and tell you what the best strategy or what the best route of marketing is for your business. Every business is very different, and not every business needs Google Ads or TikTok strategy. It's like it's really gonna be very personalized to that specific business. So for me, building the relationship with my clients is the most important thing. It's almost like I want to be your friend, Anisha, and if I don't become your friend, I probably won't be working with you, because that's the type of marketing I offer to my clients today.
That is so good and so important because, yes, as small business owners, we do want marketing, but anytime you want to step into it, it's like, oh, I can't afford it now, or I can't make this decision right now. And marketing generally falls on the back burner, whereas that's what will get you your business. So thank you for doing this. And I hope, a lot of ladies and a lot of entrepreneurs can get to work with you. So you saw an issue, you figured it out. You found a solution to the problem and you've been growing. So that's very, very encouraging. How does being bilingual enhance your marketing strategies?
I think at the moment it's really most probably most of my clients is they are English speakers. I probably used, to be honest with you, my Spanish mostly when I was in New York than here in Florida. I don't live in Miami. So that's probably where Spanish is really mostly used. So being bilingual just gives me a more competitive advantage when I'm out and about, and I can switch between one language or another. Or like when I was working for the two companies before, where being bilingual was really like my competitive advantage, because I was able to talk to that specific audience in their language with their pain points. So I think that's most important thing in marketing is who is your audience, who are you targeting, who are you talking to. And if you are a business owner that is selling, let's just say Colombian shirts, right? You need to speak to your audience about that. But if your business is about selling med spa services, that might not really be needed. So it's really understanding who your audience as a business owner is, and then targeting all those campaigns around that specific audience. And that is a big thing that businesses, not only small business owners, but even big companies, I have worked with other companies doing marketing strategies like Western Union and MoneyGram, where they want to speak to that audience and they miss that. They are translating from English to Spanish. It doesn't work like that. You need to understand the pain points of who your audience is. It doesn't matter if it's a customer in Mexico or if it's a customer in India. It's just understand what they need where they are and then talk to that audience based on that.
That's great advice. So, for new business owners or small business owners, what would be your advice for them, like to start with marketing? What would be the few couple of steps that they need to start with?
That's a great question. And thank you for asking that because I feel that a lot of the time small businesses feel that they need to be all over at the same time. And you don't. You really don't. You need to be where your audience is. For example, I am not really in social media like Instagram or Facebook because I know my customer is mostly in LinkedIn. So I am very vocal. I try to write my newsletter in LinkedIn. That's where my customer is, right? So I cannot spend all my time all over trying to follow all the trends of Instagram and TikTok because I don't have the time to do that. So the first thing I would say is, again, understand your audience and where your audience is. Then work around that. Grow that specific channel first. If your customer is in Instagram, go to Instagram. If your customer is in TikTok, go to TikTok. Create that strategy first. Once you have that strategy nailed down 100%, you see the growth, then start building another media channel and go from there. Don't try to be all over at the same time because it's very hard and it's impossible, especially nowadays, how fast social media is changing. You can be all over. Algorithms are changing all the time. And it's true that customers are all in different platforms. That is true 100%. But if you stick to one platform, you're going to have long-term success. And a lot of the time, also, business owners are looking for short-term, fast success. I never recommend that. I recommend focus on a long-term strategy. What is gonna take you from point A to point B? What is gonna take you from making $100,000 a year to making your $1,000,000 a year? So that is the most important focus. And when you work with an agency or with a marketing expert, ask questions, educate yourself. There is hundreds of ways. ChatGPT, Gemini, any of those AI platforms, you can ask them, what question you should be asking to a media agency or to a marketing person. Another thing that I have to say I hate, Anisha, is those marketing experts in social media that sell you a course that is gonna give you 100,000 followers in one day. That doesn't work. That is very unrealistic. So don't fall into that trap. Educate yourself. And when you are working with someone, interview that person. Like if you are doing an interview, like if you're working with a marketing expert, interview that person and see if you're both a good fit for each other. That's what I do with my clients as well. I don't want to take 100 clients because I know I'm not going to be able to give my 100% to them. When I work with a client, I work with that client to make that client grow from 100,000 to $1,000,000. And I'm going to focus just on that strategy until I achieve that. I don't want to tell you, you have to be in social media, you have to be running ads, you have to be doing email marketing campaign. That is very hard for small business owners to do because most of the time they don't have the budget. Another thing is that yes, marketing is expensive. Google Ads is expensive. Meta can be more reasonable, but still you're going to spend a marketing budget. So once business owners are established, they need to start allocating some budget for marketing. That is very important because you are not going to grow in today's world, 2025, AI, social media, everything that is happening, you are not going to grow if you don't have a strong, solid marketing foundation. So you need to start allocating some budget to your marketing needs. If you don't want to grow, it's okay. If you want to stay there, it's fine as well. But if you want to grow, you need to invest smart in marketing. It's not about investing a lot. It's about investing smart.
Thank you so much for shedding light on that, because that's pretty much what we see nowadays, that, get this course or register and you can grow your Instagram. And it's hard because as it is, you're trying to figure out how to grow your business as a small business owner, and then being told that you got to be on all the platforms. So you got to do everything. It's hard. So thank you for pointing that out and giving us this great advice. So,
You're
what
welcome.
advice would you give to immigrants entering marketing?
Okay. Well, it's a very specific question. To immigrants entering marketing, we I think we actually have a competitive advantage, right? Because we bring a different perspective and we can bring our own perspective of or experience. And marketing, a lot of the times, most of the time, is about trying. You need to test and you need to try. And sometimes you're going to fail. You're going to try a campaign and that campaign might not work. But bring your perspective and don't be afraid to speak. I feel like sometimes, and as immigrants, we are afraid to speak in meetings. We are afraid to raise our hands. If we don't live in a metropolitan or a cosmopolitan city like New York or a big city like LA, maybe like Miami, and we live in a smaller town where everybody is mostly American, nobody has an accent like you have, sometimes we feel, oh my God, we are not going to be able to do this. Don't do that. Stay true to yourself. Try to become better every day and try to stay up with all the marketing trends that are happening because these changes, this field in the past 10, 12 years have changed so much and so fast that if you don't stay up to date with all the trends, you're going to stay behind. So another thing that I want to tell to like immigrants entering into marketing, if you're going to school, you're going to learn, but most of your learning is going to be once you try and once you start working and once you start, doing marketing campaigns. But don't be afraid to speak. That's probably my biggest thing.
Thank you so much for that. So, how do you see marketing evolving in the future?
A lot of AI. I already see so many changes in these platforms like Google and Meta is they are, and I have to say I'm loving it because AI, if we use it in the smart way, it really can help us to be very, very productive. One thing that I have to tell small business owners is not to only rely on AI, because I see this also with clients where they tell me, oh yeah, I asked ChatGPT this. I'm like, yeah, but okay, let's just take a step back. Yes, we can do it this way, but there is also this other way. So don't rely too much or only on AI platforms. Learn from them, have that support. And the future, Anisha, I went to the Mobile World Conference in Barcelona last year. That was a great, amazing experience. And the advancement and development of AI is in another level right now. So that's probably gonna be more and more the future. It could be scary. It's not even the future anymore. It's actually the present. And all these platforms are gonna rely more on AI. So again, when you work with someone in marketing, let's say you're working with an agency and your agency is relying on AI, what team members are running your campaigns? Are they like entry level college kids that are just, clicking that button, really understand, because a lot of the times they are not very experienced on running campaigns. So you are not seeing, as a small business owners, a lot of return on investment on your marketing spend.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. So, how do you maintain work-life balance?
Work-life balance and motherhood and running a business. Well, I think I learned with getting older, right? In my 20s and early 30s, especially because I was living in New York City, it was all about the hustling, the running. I'm like, why do I even run down to get a subway when I'm going to have another one in a minute? I just, this is the life, right? Like, and I already, like, again, I was a mom already when I was in New York, and I was working in my first jobs. So it was very hard. I was very lucky that I was able to bring my parents, and they supported me a lot. Having, that support when you have kids is very important, because for me, I really didn't want to leave my kid with a stranger. So I needed to have my parents with me, and I was able to bring them. But it was very hard, very, very hard. I'm not gonna lie to anybody. It was very hard trying to juggle a full-time job in New York City, and being a mom and go to birthday parties. So that was probably one of the reasons too that I wanted to maybe leave the city for a little bit, and really focus on growing my kids, because when you are in a smaller town, you probably have more opportunities to have a life work balance, which it didn't happen exactly when I moved down to Florida, because again, I took another job in a startup where I spent 10 hours a day or more, and I had to drive, and it was very hard. But having my business, and that was probably why I knew deep down that this is what I wanted to do, like owning my own business. I wanted to own my time. I wanted to be able to get my kids ready for school in the morning and not have to rush, to drive to the office and come back and not being able to pick up. So that flexibility for me also, as I'm, entering my late 30s, I feel like it's so much more important for me, because it gives me peace of mind as well. So I have all my schedule around, like I prepare them in the morning to go to school. My husband helps me with drop off. I review my clients' strategies, work throughout the day until I pick them up in the afternoon. And then I'm able to go to after school scenes. It's not easy. Still, sometimes I feel like I'm working after hours as well. Like once they go to bed, I'm like, still doing stuff. But you just have to find what is best for you. Every person is different. For me, what I knew it wasn't negotiable anymore was working on the weekends, because when I worked in retail and in the beauty industry, a lot of the time I have to work on the weekends. Also, like at some point I said, I don't want to do this anymore on the weekends, because I want to be with my kids and with my family. So find what works for you. Maybe you are a morning person and you can wake up earlier in the morning to, like, get work done before everybody else wakes up. Or you are a late owl like me. I like to do things like later in the night. And I'm more productive at midnight than I'm at 6 a.m. I don't know why, but that's me, right? So find what works for you to have that life work balance, but don't sacrifice what you know is not important. I guess that's what I would say. For me, having my kids and my time with them is very important at this point.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So I know when we spoke before, you said, when you brought your parents, it was a challenge. It was so many things that you had to think about. So tell us a little more about that experience.
Yeah, that's a great question. I love it, because sometimes I think I even have a post on LinkedIn about this, because as immigrants, sometimes when we come in our early 20s or late 20s or like 30s, we don't realize that we don't only now have the challenge of adjusting to a new country, to a new culture, to a new language, to a new city, but also we're going to have to raise a family and we're going to have to help our parents or our relatives that we are bringing to this country. For me, leaving my parents back in Havana, in Cuba, for 5 years was one of the worst feelings that every day I would wake up and I would cry. I would say, I miss them and I want to have them here with me and I want to, have them next to my family and my kids. And I want my kids to grow up next to grandparents. So that was a very probably emotional and mental challenge as an immigrant when you leave your family behind. And it's something that a lot of the time is not spoken of, right? Like we are probably shy or scared to talk about that. And then you get your parents here, and now your parents are in their late age, in their 50s or 60s, or whatever age they come here, and it's even harder for them to adjust to this new country, to this new weather. Again, like my parents arrived in New York, and it was the same. Like for them, the winter, they were miserable. They didn't like that. They didn't speak the language. So I'm very blessed that after many years of hard work, also I was able to get them a place in Miami where they are in near surrounded with families. Also, they speak Spanish, and a lot of the people say, Anisha, oh, why didn't they speak English or why didn't they learn English? Does anyone that is not an immigrant know how hard it is to learn a new language when you are late in your age?
So true, so true. And I'm sure a lot of immigrants will resonate with this feeling because it's hard because you move for better opportunities or for love or for career, and it's hard being away from your family. So thank you for shedding light on that. So if somebody wants to work with you and get in touch with you and learn more about your strategies, or if they want to learn about how to start a career in marketing, how can someone connect with you?
Yes, I have my website, which, by the way, I'm super excited that I'm working on all the rebranding of my website. I have an amazing UI UX designer, and we're working on that. So more to come on that. Stay tuned. So my website is digitaltreasuremarketing.com. And I also have my Instagram page. Where I'm active, but I don't post every day. I don't do anything, crazy there, but you can reach me through my Instagram page. Also, Digital Treasure Marketing handle, and I'm most active on LinkedIn for sure. We have a page for business, but also like my personal page, Giselle Penley, is where I'm the most active. Via the website, we have a form that they can fill, and we'll get the form, reach out back to them. They can reach me through LinkedIn, through social media, whatever is the best way.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for sharing all these precious and important moments in your life, and also encouraging us and teaching us so much more about marketing. Thank you so much for being on the show.
No problem. And I feel this is probably like a great time to be talking about this, especially when there is so much uncertainty happening, right, with immigrants. And I want to say this is a country where we all come here to build a life or to build a dream. And myself, I never really dreamed of, oh, I'm going to leave everything behind and I'm going to come to the US and I'm going to go on a boat. I was not that person, right? I really, by chance, fell in love. I came here. I tried to overcome all these challenges that are part of moving to a new country, are part of, coming in, encounter a new language, but never lose yourself in the middle, right? Like sometimes we just have to try ourselves, and this is not the right path we are doing. Let's try another path, and this is the place where everybody could have an opportunity, right? And I encourage everybody listening to this, dreaming to maybe come here or to move to another country, because I have to tell you, like, my dream always was to move to Europe. So who knows if in 10 years, right? Like I might move there. I don't know, but I'm never someone that is gonna stay static in the same place because I feel like we all need to adjust and we need to adapt to wherever we are. So that would be my best advice to any, immigrant or person just coming now as a new person and trying to figure it out their life. There are opportunities. Just go out, try to talk to people, try to apply to universities where they have better opportunities. Not you don't have to go to one place, to one university, to one city. You need to understand what your options are around.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing that to light and sharing your experience and story.
You're welcome, Anisha. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. If you're ready to share your story and build your brand through a website that truly represents you, I'd love to help. I understand that your website is the heart of your brand story. You can connect with me at jenningstechcorner.com to learn how we can bring your vision to life.